What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. here at the Black Balls channel and Victory Formation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell for all the videos every time I go live. Now, here today, if you are living under a rock and you don't understand what took place the last 24, 36 hours roughly, between Nick Saban, Deion Sanders, Jackson State, Travis Hunter, Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M. Let me give you a brief recap. So, Nick Saban was talking to a group of Alabama businessmen, Alabama boosters, Alabama people that support Alabama athletics, and he was telling them, they asked him about NIL. What about NIL? He went on a 7-minute rant about how NIL is hurting college football, about how NIL teams are paying players to come to their school via NIL, and how this, and that, this, and that. And he really was going, it was two things he was doing. He was going in on Texas A&M, and he was really trying to entice the boosters to like, yo, what y'all gonna do? You know what I'm saying? Texas A&M bought every single player in their recruiting class. What y'all gonna do? Hell, Jack, and then that's when he messed up. He said Jackson State paid one player $1 million. What y'all gonna do? And I see, shout out to Kevin, shout out to Karume. And Kevin says, oh, yes, he doesn't want to mess up those connections and key relationships. And this is what the topic of this conversation is. Was Coach Prime too nice in his response to what Nick Saban said about his program, about what Jackson State is doing, about the movement of HBCUs? Now, of course, Nick Saban didn't put all of that into context, but a lot of people took that as a subliminal to like, yo, you're hating on what we're doing over here, not just at Jackson State, but at every school in the SWAC and at every HBCU, and the movement that is taking place. Movements that some people have been predicting for years now, that the influx of great Black talent will want to go play for Black coaches at Black schools. So that is what a lot of people took offense to that. And then Jimbo, who is the head coach at Texas A&M, he held nothing back. He went in on Nick Saban. Let's first of all, let's go ahead, just so we're all caught up and all on the same page. Let's play some of the audio. So I'm gonna first play Nick Saban's comments on Jackson State. So let me do that first. Let me know if you can hear. Let's go ahead and play that just so we can have a brief recap. It's quick. It's 20 seconds. Let's take a listen. This is Coach Saban on what he alleged was taking place at Jackson State.
There are rules, just like Nate said. We have a rule right now that says you cannot use name, image, and likeness to entice a player to come to your school. Hell, read about it in the paper. I mean, Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to school. It was in the paper, and they bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it.
All right, so that's what Coach Saban had to say about Jackson State. Let me run it one more time just to make sure you guys could hear. This was what Nick Saban had to say about Jackson State. One more again.
There are rules, just like Nate said. We have a rule right now that says you cannot use name, image, and likeness to entice a player to come to your school. Hell, read about it in the paper. I mean, Jackson State paid a guy $1 million last year that was a really good Division I player to come to school. It was in the paper, and they bragged about it. Nobody did anything about it.
And so, of course, this set the internet on fire. As you see, that video got 167,000 views, and it was seen in millions and millions and millions of other places, right? Besides just that one video, it got picked up by Fox Sports, ESPN, just every podcast outlet, whatever. They talked about, Nick Saban and what he had to say. Now, like I said, Jimbo didn't hold back. Jimbo Fisher, who's the head coach of Texas A&M, he did not hold back. He did not mince words. He brought all the smoke for Nick Saban. Let's go ahead and listen to what Jimbo Fisher, or one part of what Jimbo, because he said a lot. But we're just going to listen to one part of what Jimbo Fisher had to say. And then we're going to talk, and then I'm going to share with you what Coach Prime had to say in his response. So let's take a listen. This is Jimbo Fisher on Nick Saban's comments about his program.
Respond to some comments made last night in Alabama.
Yes, I would. First of all, I'll say it's a shame that we have to do this. It's really despicable. It's despicable that somebody can say things about somebody and an organization. More importantly, 17-year-old kids. He's taking shots at 17-year-old kids and their families. And they broke state laws. They're all money. We bought every player on this group. We never bought anybody. No rules were broken. Nothing was done wrong. It was all in the way we do things, the ethics in which we do things. And these families, it's despicable that a reputable head coach could come out and say this when he doesn't get his way or things don't go his way. The narcissist in him doesn't allow those things to happen, and it's ridiculous. But when he's not on top, and the parity in college football he's been talking about, go talk to coaches who coach for him. You'll find out all the parity. Go dig into wherever he's been. You can find out anything. And it's a shame that you got to sit here and defend 17-year-old kids and families and Texas A&M because we do things right.
Woo! And Jimbo went harder. He went a lot harder than just that. I just wanted to give you the energy that Jimbo was bringing, the energy that Jimbo was on, what time Jimbo was on. You know, sometimes when people are like, you know what time it is? That's what time Jimbo was on. And he brought even more smoke later in his press conference. And he brought all smoke later. Like he brought the heavy hammer on Nick Saban. And this is someone who worked for Nick Saban. This is someone who's known Nick Saban for the better part of 20, 25 years. He worked for Nick Saban back in the early 2000s. We're in 2022. He's known Nick Saban for a long time, and he held nothing back from Nick Saban in the way he didn't like that he was attacking his team, attacking his staff, attacking his recruits, attacking his character as a man, and he took offense to all of that. And I didn't blame Jimbo. I was here for all the smoke. I'm gonna be honest. I was loving it. But Coach Prime, he kind of alluded to like, yo, I'm going to come with that same energy. You know what I'm saying? I seen what time Jimbo was on. I seen what time Nick Saban was on for bringing up me and my program. And I'm going to show you what time I'm on. So this was like the precursor. This is Coach Prime on his Instagram yesterday. And this was the precursor to the article that eventually came out. We're going to read through the article, but this was the precursor. And so this had me thinking,
Lord, what?
This had me thinking he was going to be on that same type of time. I don't know. He was kind of joking, but that same kind of time that Jimbo was on. Jimbo was hot, but Prime was a little more jokey about it, even in the precursor.
Just doesn't happen, John.
Well, we've been talking about Nick Saban, Travis Hunter.
Coach Saban.
I'm sorry, Coach Saban.
Yes.
Travis Hunter,
Mhm.
NIL. Whew.
Anything else?
Some stuff we can't tell you about right now, but you can read it in Anscape in a little bit. And you can also check out the JJT Media Group. You need to follow
You
me.
didn't think I was gonna respond. Y'all didn't think I was gonna respond. You lost your mind. Hey, how was it? Was it hot? Was it
Sriracha, man.
What's that?
Hot sauce. Hotter than hot. It's like habanero sauce.
I like that. I never heard of that.
So habanero sauce. He said it was going to be habanero. So I'm like, habanero pretty freaking hot, man. I'm thinking that's about to be some stuff. Like you hear that, you're like, yo, he's about to be on the same time Jimbo was on, right? Like that's at least is what I thought.
Coming soon. How soon is it coming?
And so it ends up coming out last night. And this is the article, and we'll read into it, and we'll read it. Let me look at some of your comments. Yeah, Coach Prime took the high road. He took the highest of roads. He took the highest of roads. And let's go ahead and get into the article. This is the article that ended up coming out by Jean-Jacques Taylor. And let me see. Let's take this. And this is what it says. It says Deion Sanders response to Nick Saban's comments about Jackson State. Coach Saban wasn't talking to me. Coach Saban wasn't talking to Jimbo Fisher. He was talking to his boosters. He was trying to get money, which is, I also believe that. It says, Alabama coach Nick Saban had comments for Jackson State. This was Coach Prime's response. I haven't talked to Coach Saban. I'm sure he's tried to call, which Nick Saban later admitted he tried to call both Jimbo and Deion Sanders, and both of them, both Jimbo and Coach Prime, declined the calls. He says, I'm sure he's trying to call. We need to talk publicly, not privately. What you said was public. That doesn't require a conversation. Let's talk publicly and let everybody hear the conversation, which I agree with. If you are going to try to, well, first of all, tell blatant lies about someone in their program with no facts to back up what you're saying, no evidence to back up what you're saying, your only source is, I read it in the paper and they were bragging about it, then absolutely you need to come out publicly and apologize. But I don't think you need to just apologize to a radio, whatever, personality. I think you need to hit up Prime and go on one of these outlets, whether it's Anscape, whether it's ESPN, whether it's Fox Sports 1, whether it's freaking the Black Boss channel, somewhere publicly, and say, hey, I'm here with Aflac. Y'all love Aflac. Y'all both work with Aflac or whatever. And like, yo, I messed up. I tweaked. I was hot. I don't like NIL or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I threw your school under the bus. I shouldn't have. That was wrong of me. Whatever. But you can't just sit there and try to call these folks privately when you blasted them publicly, knowing that there's videos, cameras, phones, everything everywhere. You know, everything is recorded when you're out in public. He continues on. He says, you can't do that publicly and call privately. But he took a left when he should have stayed right. I'm sure he'll get back on course. I ain't tripping. Sanders, who's done several Aflac, coach went on to say, I don't even wear a watch. I know what time it is. They forget. I know who's been bringing the bag and dropping it off. Sanders said, I know this stuff, and I'm not the one you want to play with when it comes to all this stuff. See, the problem, this right here. He's not lying. He's not lying when he says, I know this stuff. I know, who's been paying who, because Coach Prime obviously played in the NFL for almost 2 decades. He also worked for the NFL networks. Between his career in the league and his career with the NFL network, it's about 30 years. And then he also coached the Under Armour All-American game for about 10 years. So it's a lot of experience with high-level college players, high-level recruits, and NFL players. So I'm sure he's heard a story or two, or had his own story or two, about the bag man. We've all seen the 30 for 30s. We've all seen everything about the bag man and the bags that were dropped off to players, especially in the 80s and 90s, and even so much in the 2000s, 2010s, and way before NIL was ever a thing. And that's the problem that people had with Nick Saban from the jump. Players have been getting paid before NIL for years, literally for years, 50, 60, 70, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you want to, moan and groan about it now? Like it didn't make any sense. Prime went on to say, he said, I don't make $1 million. Travis ain't built like that. Travis ain't chasing a dollar. Travis is chasing greatness. Travis and his family don't get down like that. They never came to us in search of a bag. They're not built like that. The kid wants to be great. He wants my hands on him. He wants me to mold him. He wants me to be his navigational system through life, and he wants to be that dude. Because obviously when Coach Saban was talking about someone getting $1 million, he was talking about Travis Hunter. Like that. That's like, come on, obviously. And then Prime went on to say, once upon a time, the bag was just a bag. Now there's equality among the big boys. We don't have those type of bags. We don't have a boosters and donors and givers. Leave me out of the mess y'all got going on. What about Kevin Coleman? He spoke of his buddy. Then he goes on to say Travis Hunter has 2 current NIL deals and 2 pending. The deals are worth less than $250,000. So they might be like $240,000, $235,000, but they're less than $250,000. Travis also responded to Coach Saban and said, I got a meal, but my mom live in a 3-bedroom house with 5 kids. So in other words, he don't have $1 million. But Prime wanted to make it clear that Coach Saban wasn't talking to me. Coach Saban wasn't talking to Jimbo Fisher. He was talking to his boosters. He was talking to his alumni. He was talking to his givers. He's trying to get money. That's what he was doing. He was just going at us when he was trying to get to them. Now, he also, during this article, he still bigs up Nick Saban. He gives him all the flowers for being a 7-time national champion. He gives him all his flowers for being one of the best of the best. One of the, I think he called him the summa cum laude of coaching. All of the, gives him his flowers, and he takes the high road. But should he have taken the high road? Should Prime have taken more of the approach that Jimbo took? See, Jimbo was like, y'all think he's the czar of coaching? It's easy to be the czar of coaching when you've had everything handed to you. It's easy to be the czar of coaching when it's that easy for you because you get the best of the best. And now that other teams are getting some of the best, let's see if he will continue to be the czar of coaching. That's Jimbo's approach. That was him. Prime is like, yo, leave me out of this. And there's a couple of reasons why he's doing that. One, because he wants to continue to have a working relationship with Nick Saban. 2, because him and Nick Saban are both a part of Aflac. And if Aflac is going to pick somebody to continue to work with, probably just for the simple fact that Nick Saban is the head coach of Alabama and Prime is the head coach of Jackson State, they're probably going to rock with Nick Saban. 3, Nick Saban in Alabama don't even play Jackson State. Nick Saban in Alabama are in the SEC, which is an FBS program, the top ranked FBS program that compete for national championships every single year. There was in the national championship game last year, and he has 7 national championship titles. Jackson State and Nick and Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter, they're in the FCS. They're in the SWAC. They don't even have the same amount of scholarships. They're never even on the same schedule. They play a totally different set of teams. They're in a totally different set of a conference. Everything is different. And so Jimbo had more of a reason to go after Saban because they're in the same conference. They're fighting for the same conference title. They're fighting for the same national championship. They're fighting for the same everything. They're fighting for the same recruits. They're fighting for the same recruiting base. They're fighting for everything the same. And there is more of a personal relationship there because he used to work for Nick Saban, and maybe he didn't have the best of times. He even alluded to that. He said, go talk to the people that work for Saban. Go ask me why I've never coached with Saban again. There's a reason for that. I used to coach with Bobby Bowden. I love Bobby Bowden. I coached with Nick Saban. I would never go work for Nick Saban again. Essentially what Jimbo Fisher was saying. And so there's clearly some kind of personal tit for tat there. And when you attack, and I'm with Jimbo on this, when you claim, and here's the thing, NIL, kids are getting paid through NIL. Let's not act like that's not true. That is very much true. It was just below, or should have been below, a 7-time national championship winning head coach to call out specific teams, especially with no facts. Unless you're going to lay the facts out there, unless you got receipts that show Travis Hunter got $1 million from Jackson State, leave them the hell alone. Unless you got receipts that show these kids, basically what has happened is a couple of kids probably were going to go to Alabama, and according to Saban, Texas A&M threw that bag at them through a collective, through the NIL collectives, and they decided to go to Texas A&M instead of Alabama. Travis Hunter was never considering Alabama. It was Jackson State and Florida State, and he chose to go play with Prime instead of playing with Mike Norvell in Florida State. But if you ask Prime and you hear some of the interviews, one of the biggest reasons why he wanted to go to Florida State, one, he's from Florida, two, because Deion Sanders went to Florida State. So why go to Deion Sanders' alma mater instead of go playing for Deion Sanders directly? That's kind of how, Travis Hunter, his camp, his family, everything looked at it. But this should have been below Nick Saban. And a lot of people feel like there was some kind of racial undertone to it. And a lot of people feel like Saban is threatened. Let me put this out there. Do I feel like Nick Saban is threatened by Jackson State getting 1 Travis Hunter, 1 Kevin Coleman, 1 4-star, 1 5-star in the class 22 when they had the second best recruiting class in the country? Jackson State had the best FCS recruiting class, number 1 FCS recruiting class, the best FCS HBCU recruiting class ever, according to all the rankings. Nick Saban in Alabama had the second best recruiting class in the country, coming off of the first recruiting class in the country the year before and top 3 the last 10 years. So no, they're not threatened by Jackson State. Let's get that out of here. At least not yet. I will say not yet, because Jackson State, and not just them, but the entire HBCU landscape still has a lot of work to do. Rome was not built in a day. Just because you get 1 Travis Hunter doesn't mean you're going to get 10 Travis Hunters the next year or 10 5-stars the next year. You have to slowly integrate this thing. Right? We're just now getting to the point where guys like Travis Hunter and Kevin Coleman and some of these other dudes are considering HBCUs. So much so that they're waiting for HBCU offers. Now, let's see how many commit, not to just Jackson State, but to some of the other programs starting this cycle, the 2023 class, straight out of high school, because you're going to get some of those transfers. You're going to continue to get some of those transfers. Grambling's going to get some of the transfers. Alabama A&M, Alabama State's racked up on the transfers. A&M's racked up on the transfers, FAMU. But let's see how many of the class of 2023, the high school guys, will go to SWAC schools, will go to HBCUs. That is what we're looking at. That is the bigger picture. That's the long-term picture. But right now, Alabama is still head and shoulders above every program in the SWAC. That's not a diss. That's not a slight. That's just a fact. If they played a SWAC school, it wouldn't end good. It would end badly. Like this. So make sure we're all on the same page here. But that doesn't mean things will not change, and that doesn't mean things couldn't possibly change quickly. But it takes time. Alabama, Nick Saban, they didn't do themselves any favors with these comments. So a lot of people who showed us true colors, whatever you think those are. But right now, they still have a machine behind them. Alabama's athletic budget is $180 million. That is a machine. Alabama's football players during the Nick Saban tenure has signed $1.7 billion in NFL contracts. That is a machine. Alabama has won 6 national titles since Nick Saban has been there. That is a machine. Jackson State, the SWAC schools, Alabama A&M, Alabama State, whoever, they're fighting an uphill battle to continue to convince recruits that it's better to come play for them than to go play for Alabama or Georgia or A&M. That's just a fact. And then when you add the NIL aspect, because the NIL thing is real. One thing Saban did get right, he was completely wrong and he told a blatant lie about Jackson State. But one thing he is right about is the NIL thing is real. It is very real. And the problem with him calling out other teams is that his team is doing it too. He claims that only 25 players on his team got $3 million worth of NIL deals. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. We don't know. We have no way of fact checking that. But the NIL thing is real. The transfer portal thing is real. Alabama's poaching players. They poach players. They poached a kid from Louisville. They poached the best receiver on the University of Louisville. They poached him. And all the message boards and everything knew it. So for him to go out there and act like he was holier than thou when he bends and manipulates the rules as well was just sick. It was very sickening. And that is why Jimbo was so pissed, because Jimbo knows where the bodies are buried, because Jimbo coached with him for years. You get what I'm saying? That's why the SEC commissioner came out and sanctioned both of them. It's like, you go over here, you go to timeout, because both of y'all messing up the bag. Both of y'all messing up. Now, one thing I will say, and I said this yesterday, that Saban did, whether he realizes it or not, he gave not just Jackson State, Deion Sanders, Travis Hunter, but all the HBCUs millions of dollars of free promo. This type of promo that Nick Saban did for Jackson State, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, HBCUs across the country, the SWAC, whoever, by putting them in the spotlight of the mainstream for every talk show to talk about, gave them millions of dollars worth of promo for free, just for opening his mouth. I showed y'all my video did 160,000 views. Another video, I think, Yard Talk, Miss LaShonda Love, hers did about 50,000 views. And then you get picked up by ESPN, Fox Sports, and every single podcast, every CBS Sports, 247, et cetera, every single podcast across the country. That's millions of free exposure, which is what the HBCUs need to continue to have to go to their broadcasting partners, their whoever, to get broadcasting rights and TV deal and more money. And that's all they need is resources. The biggest difference between Alabama and any school, HBCU in Mississippi or Alabama and the state of Alabama and Alabama A&M, is that Alabama has a $180 million athletics budget and Alabama A&M has an $8 million athletics budget. Do you see the difference? Do you see how there can be disparities? Do you see how there can be major, drastic differences? Hell, if Alabama A&M or Jackson State had an $18 million budget, things would be different. I can't imagine a $180 million budget. Shout out to my boy Brashawn, man. True colors. Yeah, we know about showing them true colors, man. But that's what I'm saying. He gave them a ton of free promo. It's time for them being Jackson State, Deion Sanders, HBCUs. Yeah, he was a little nice. He was a little more nice than me. You would have said that about me and one of my players. I would have been more on Jimbo's time than Prime's time, but that's why he's Prime and I'm right here talking to y'all. Because I would have been a little more on that type of time. Oh, okay, you coming to me? Oh, all right, okay, bet. You know what I'm saying? Bet. Let's take the gloves off. You feel me? Let's say what we gotta say. Because it ain't like Nick Saban can whoop Prime. You know what I'm saying? Ain't like if they got a boxing match, that would end well. It would end very, very badly for old Saban. But, you know, I think this was beautiful for Jackson State. I think it was beautiful for the SWAC. I think it was beautiful for HBC football because they got a ton of free promo. And I think they can continue to capitalize off this marketing and get more viewers this fall, get more people to tap in this fall, and have a great, great season this fall. Like I said, was he a little nice? Absolutely. But, you know, it's Deion Sanders. He's nice. He don't even curse. He don't curse. He don't drink. He don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? Anything that's overtly mean. Gosh darn it and stuff like that. Like anybody that says gosh darn it, they're going to be pretty nice. Especially to someone that they actually respect. You know, especially to someone he calls a coaching savant, the magnum cum laude of coaching, someone that he really actually admires as far as coaching, admires it and aspires to be as far as the world of coaching. And the man got 7 championships, so you can't blame him for that. So yeah, that's what I said. He invited him to hash it out in public. He just wants a public apology, which is totally acceptable because Saban was wrong. It's one thing. I get it. You want your boosters to create NIL collectives. You want your givers to give y'all some money so y'all can start buying players. Because that's all it was. Saban wants to start buying players too. But you didn't have to lie on Jackson State. You didn't have to run with a fake rumor at a little bitty old HBCU in Mississippi that happened to get, one extremely uber talented player that has a uber talented coach that personally. But he also knew Jimbo too, and he went after him too. So, hey, it is what it is. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Once again, my name is JeffLightsyJr with the Black Boss Channel, Victory Formation. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at JLightsy7. Right there, it's at JLightsy7. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and I will see you next time. Peace.